Hi, my name is Amanda Brown, and this is my third and final presentation for ICOM 495 on my project, History of Ball State. In this final presentation, I will discuss the problem space, the project description, the paper prototype, what was tested, how it was tested, and the major results from that paper prototype. And then I will talk about the changes that were made, and then the digital prototype, and then the first usability test based on that digital prototype, and I will talk about what was tested, how was that tested, and the results from that. And then I will talk about the changes that were made, and then the final digital prototype, and then the test that I did on that final digital prototype. And I will talk about what was tested, how was that tested, and the results from that. First, I will discuss the problem space. Ball State students and people in the community might not know much about the history of Ball State University, and I want to create a tool for people to learn more about Ball State's history that is both educational and entertaining. Now I will talk about the project description. The project description is educating Ball State students and people in the community about the history of Ball State University, from the founding, important people, buildings, and big events that happened through the years. Seeing the differences between Ball State 1918 and today, almost 100 years later. The reason I'm doing this project is I wanted to do something similar to my project that I worked on in the fall. In the fall, I created a transmedia narrative that focused around the history of Muncie. I wanted to narrow that topic down this semester and create a story experience based around Ball State and its history. The scope: gather research on Ball State history, like important people, buildings, and events that have happened over the span of its history. And when I finished my research, I wanted to create media like digital timelines, charts, graphs, pictures, and videos. The audience is Ball State students, or the main audience of this project, and they will use the site to learn about the school they are currently attending, to hear about Ball State's deep history, but it will also be for people who want to learn more about Ball State's history, like past students of the university and people within the community. And hopefully the outcome is people learn more about Ball State's history after looking at the app and the content on the app. Now I will discuss my paper prototype. I came up with 3 paper prototype alternatives. 2 were website-based, and the third was an application. I will show you all 3 of those paper prototypes now. Okay, so this is my first paper prototype. As you can see, it has all these different tabs, and each color tab are different links that the user can click on that would have opened a pop-up on the screen. So I have tabs like information, people, buildings, timeline, and quiz. And I will show you what those pop-ups would look like. Okay, so here's 2 of the pop-up screens that would have popped up. So in this one you have information. So the information would have been this pink square, and then you have people. So this was what would have opened when you clicked on the people tab. And I'll show you the last 3. And then we have buildings, the timeline, and a quiz. And with this quiz, you would have answered the question, and there would have been a continue button. In this second paper prototype, the users can click on the link, which will take them to a page with the specific time period. So if you're going to click on one of these, like if you're going to click on the 1918 to 1942, this is what would have popped up, and it was just a scrollable experience. So at the top you get the information section, then important people would have gone in this area with the text on the side describing the person and or events. And then you'd have a map of the campus, and then you'd have buildings that were built during that period. And then you have a timeline underneath that, and then a quiz is at the bottom. So that is the second paper prototype. The third is an application where users can learn about Ball State history and make contributions within the application. So here are 3 of my screens from the application. So in this first one, the user can select a time period. And once they click on one of the time periods, this screen would open up and it would have the year at the top. And this third shot is a contribute. And this is where users could contribute their own material to the application, which this experience is different than the other 2, because in the other 2 you could not contribute to the project, but in this you could. And then here are 3 more screens, and this is the information, people, and buildings pages. And then these 2 other ones are the timeline and quiz. Now that I talked about the paper prototype, I will discuss the test that I did. And these tests were used to see which of the 3 experiences were the easiest and most enjoyable for the user to use. And also this test was used to see which layout the user liked the best and how well they were able to navigate the experience. It was tested by giving the users tasks to complete from all 3 of the alternatives, which would help me try to determine which experience the user found the most enjoyable and easiest to use. I evaluated their behaviors and responses to questions asked to them about what they liked and didn't like. The major results I found from the test: each of the 3 alternatives had pros, cons, and problems. All of the users preferred the third alternative, which is the app, over the other 2 experiences. One user preferred it because of the contribute button, where users can contribute their own content to the application. Another user preferred it because they could take it with them anywhere and look at it while they are on campus. And since that was the favorite, it is the one that I moved forward with and created for this class. Some of the changes that were made based on this paper prototype were: I fixed the navigation issues, or most of them. I added more navigation buttons to my paper prototype to know where to implement them into the application. And then I went forward and made my digital prototype. Next, I began to build my application. I used the website AppPress to begin to build my application. I had built what I had made the paper prototype on, and now I will show you some of my screenshots from my first digital prototype and how the design meets my user requirements. Okay, so these are 2 of my screens from my application. I have the launch screen, and then I have the main menu, like the main one for the application. And as you can see, we have the dates below, and then we have an about and contribute button at the bottom. And as you can see, this is the information page. So users can learn a little bit about Ball State history from this screen, but then move on to other screens and learn more. And then as you can see, we have our buildings page. So users can click on one of the locations and learn about that location. And then we have our timeline. And then the quiz screen, as you can see here, and as you can see, we have the 2 menus within the application. So here is the main one where you navigate to the different time periods. And as you can see, we have on the left one of the buildings, and for this one it's Ball Gym. And basically you have the name of the building right here, and then you have a picture, the year it's built, and just a little blurb of information. And then on the right you have the people, and you have a picture of the people on the left and a description of why they are important to the university on the right. And now I will talk about the first usability test. I conducted a usability test that was testing the ease of use, navigation, learnability, organization, and efficiency. Like I mentioned, I conducted a usability test where I had users look at my application and then answer survey questions about their experience using the 5 areas I talked about in the last slide, and I used a combination of Likert, ranking, and open-ended questions. I had 5 users take my survey. 2 users were current Ball State students. 2 users were alums of the university, and the third was someone in the community who wasn't tied to Ball State. And the problems that I found from the data of the survey was that users were still having problems with the navigation. Some of the users couldn't find an easy way to navigate to other pages. They would have to go back to the main content page to go to other sections in the application. Now I will talk about the changes that were made by showing my final digital prototype. I'll just show you some screens from that. So again, here is the main page of the application, the main menu, and then this is our contribute button, which is something I added since the first paper prototype. And then here is just the about page and gave a link to the survey. And here is another one of the year section pages, and this one is for the 1968 to 1992, which is another section that I did since the first usability test. And here's the information page for the 1943 to 1967. So I have a little bit of information right here at the top, and something I added since the first usability test was pictures on the information page, and this is the timeline. And as you can see, this is the timeline for 1993 to 2018. And then we have the buildings. So I put the map here, and then I labeled each one of the buildings with a number to show where they are on campus. And I will show you the Applied Technology Building page. And this is the Applied Technology Building. And as you can see, I have the building title right here, when it was built, a picture of the building, and something I did differently from the first digital prototype was I put an older picture of right around when the building was built. And I used the digital archives to find my pictures for this project. And then I have a little description at the bottom. And then this page is very different from the people page from the first or earlier digital prototype. So what you would do is you would click on one of the people. So like if you're going to click on Robert Pete Bell, this would open, and I gave every person their own individual pages instead of just cramming everything on to the one page. And then another change that I made within the application is I added a home button here at the top. And the reason I added the home button was in the first usability test, people were having troubles navigating. So I decided to add the home button to the application. Now I will discuss my second usability test, where I tested my final prototype. I conducted this usability test, and what I tested was ease of use, navigation, learnability, organization, efficiency, and satisfaction. Satisfaction was an addition I made to the survey because I wanted to see if the user enjoyed the experience overall. And just like my first usability test, I created a survey that users could take after they looked at my application. I posted the survey and link to the app on Facebook, I had 20 users take my survey. I again used a combination of Likert, ranking, and open-ended questions within each of my inquiry areas, as discussed on the previous slide. Some of the results I found from the survey were hard to navigate content sections. In the navigation, users found the content section to be the hardest to navigate. And if I was making changes to this app, I would make content sections more navigatable by breaking sections into more sections and possibly underlining content to let users know what is clickable. Another problem that was found was the application kept closing. What users were discovering was the AppPress application kept closing, making it very difficult for the user to look at my application. So something I would do next time would be I would find another type of service similar to AppPress that doesn't crash as frequently, or even contact AppPress about the problem so they can come up with some kind of fix to this problem. The third thing that I found was the people page was the least learnable of all of the pages. In the rank data section from the learnability section, 7 users found the people page the page that they learned the least amount from. So something I would do would be adding more information about the people mentioned in the sections, like information about their experience at Ball State when they were at the university. The fourth problem I ran into, or something that people just wanted, was more information on majors and degrees. I had quite a few people in the survey tell me that they wanted to see more information on that. So I would just add like a whole section just on majors and degrees that were added during those time periods. And then buildings page. In a few of the rank data sections, the building section always ranked last. So I want to make the buildings pages more appealing for the user, maybe by adding underlining to text and adding boxes so that users know what's clickable and what isn't, just to help that page in those ranking sections. And another problem that users ran into was not being able to find the survey. So maybe I could have added a button on all of the content pages that links directly to the survey, or change the feedback or about section to a survey section, because those are available on all the pages or most of the pages within the application. And then some of the users wanted to see more colors within the app, because I only used like a combination of like 3 or 4 different colors, mostly like Ball State colors. So possibly adding more colors to the application, maybe making each era a different color, or different types of content different colors. Some users even wanted more media items than were provided in the application. One user said that they wanted music within the application, so maybe adding a non-distracting background music to the application that could be disabled for users who didn't want to listen to the music. Possibly adding some old videos to the application, or like links to YouTube videos of old videos would be something I could have done or could do. And some users wanted to see more information about sports and clubs. So maybe making a whole section within each 4 of the content years about the sports teams that were played during those time periods, eras. And those were the results from my usability test and some of the problems that I ran into in the usability tests. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I really enjoyed doing this project this semester. I learned a lot of really interesting information about Ball State history and digital media in general. Have a good day. Bye.